two of the kickers on this list are Eagles.
Are you looking at the missed 3 extra points?
Yeah.
As we record this, the night Brett Maher makes NFL history.
Dude, and it's crazy because so he missed, for those of you who don't know, I'm sure pretty much if you're listening to this, you're gonna know. He missed 4 straight extra points in a playoff game. Um, the like all these other people, the prior record was 3, previous record, I should say. But almost all of them hit at least another extra point, or they hit a field goal, or something like that. But not
At some
Maher.
point, you would think just luck.
Right.
You
Just
know.
muscle memory. Even if you've got the yips, like it seems like he's got the yips like a motherfucker.
Yeah, it's like Ryan Zimmerman trying to throw into first base.
Right.
This doesn't work.
Yeah. You would think though that at some point, like just I don't know, you would fuck up and kick it through the uprights. Like
Exactly.
it's been incredible. I've never seen anything like that. Which brings us, I guess, this is going to be, or this is an episode of the Steve Jeltz Appreciation Society.
We'll get there. We sometimes we know the own name of our stuff that we do.
Sometimes,
yeah,
not
episode
often.
2, right?
Yeah, it's going to be episode 2. So, we kind of have to. I initially wanted to talk about, which I think we might have talked about on the normal pod like a while ago, but I wanted to do like kind of a Mount Rushmore, the greatest player of all time from each sport. So each of the 4 major sports, but from outside of Philly. Like we couldn't include any Philly teams, any Philly players rather. And that's what I had wanted to talk about. And then this fucking abortion showed up on our TV. And when I just turned it off, it was 24-0 Cowboys.
Yeah, and it still is, and they've got the ball back. I don't know what's actually occurring, but yeah, Cowboys are making quick work out of Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. Their offense looks good. It's weird. I put a lot of eggs in my basket in the Buccaneers for the sheer fact that the Cowboys looked so bad the last week of the season. Losing 26-6 or whatever it was. They looked awful. And the Buccaneers, they kind of, whatever. They fell into the playoffs basically being under 500, but look, it's Tom Brady.
Right.
I mean, I don't care. It's and I think this might be it.
and that's kind of what I was thinking is like going into the game. Obviously, I felt like Dallas was the more talented roster. They were the better team, as much as I fucking can't stand saying that. They are the better team, better than the Bucks. But that said, like I still thought that Tom Brady would have it in him to take them down one more time. He would have one last hurrah, and then that would be it. They would end up losing to the 49ers in the second round, and then it would be on to, the Niners are going to the NFC Championship game, which was surprising enough. But this, I don't know, man. I don't think Dallas beats the Niners. I don't think there's any way in hell.
No, that's what I kind of thought too. Even the Buccaneers, I thought both teams walking into San Francisco, they look, Seattle gave it a valiant effort the first half of that game. And then San Francisco just showed, hey, we can score as many points as we want, and there's nothing you can do about it. Their offense is so dynamic, and it does not matter does not matter who's under center. You have some weird combination of Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel. Things are going to happen. That and their defense is just amazing. They're tough.
Yeah,
that's a tough team. I know you had pointed that out. Hey, this is the team I'm worried about, and I kind of undersold them a little bit. I thought, well, maybe Seattle shows up a little bit, and they did. They did show up, but I don't know. It's yeah, I would say the Niners have an easy ticket into the NFC title game. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I really I thought maybe that Brock Purdy, maybe the moment would be too big for him, and I was wrong. Like they legitimately they were the team going into the playoffs that worried me the most. Um, it went um, them, Dallas, New York, but New York and Dallas were 2A and 2B. The Bucks didn't really scare me. The Seahawks didn't scare me. The Vikings didn't scare me, but the other three do. And
Here's the thing with the 49ers too. This Take this for what it's worth. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, last pick of the draft. Right now we have a sixth rounder from Tom Brady, who is getting throttled by the Cowboys, but who's also so happened to be 45 years old and won 7 Super Bowls previously. Late round draft picks can win big games and win Super Bowls. So I would not surprise me if Mr. Relevant would be. I'd hate to say that. I
well,
really do. I hate it, but wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and say. First of all, I mean, the Eagles have to beat the Giants.
Yes, yeah.
They,
Let's not get past. I just hate to say it, Daniel Jones and the crew. Um, yeah, no, you're right. Go.
Now, obviously, if they play like they did in the first meeting between the two teams, it's no problem. We destroyed them. It was no big deal. But that second game, and obviously we kept it vanilla. We were just trying to not get anybody hurt. We were trying to get players moving and everything. But one of the things that came out when the Giants played us in week 18 was they started a guy named Cordarrelle Flott, um, who was, he was sitting the bench basically for them, and he was playing spot time. But I guess he looked so good that they figured out, hey man, this kid can play, and he played a decent amount against the Vikings, made some plays, so they found some parts. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on. Um,
Yeah, and look, you've said it to me more than once, and I think a lot of people historically know this. Kirk Cousins in his prime time, if you will. But look, I think he falls apart during almost any kind of you know um, high pressure situations. Almost, I don't know that this rested on him necessarily, other than the fact of that last pass to the game. Um, you know, he just decides to throw what was like a 2 or 3 yard little shot to Hawkinson when
yeah,
they needed 8. I'm still not entirely sure what that was about. Um, Otherwise, I don't know that you throw the whole game on his shoulders, being his fault. Um, the Giants showed up. They really did.
yeah,
Darius Slayton turned out a hell of a game. Big time game for that guy. Um, and then, who's the other receiver? Turned out a big game. The guy that's not Richie James. Um, my apologies for not remembering the guy's name, but they had another receiver who turned out quite a good game.
yeah.
And it just they just did everything they needed to do to win. And I think Brian Daboll's shown off that his first year head coach, he's not joking.
Mm-mm. No, and that's the thing. Like, you know, you look at the coaches that made it into the playoffs this year, and the first year coaches, and Brian Daboll was he started all he had the team starting off like a house on fire, and then they kind of fell off in the middle of the season, and they started tuning it back up right at the end of the season, and I lost Tom. Uh, I guess this is my show now. Penis.
I'll have to cut that. It just like threw my tab right out.
Well, what's funny is, yeah, I saw that it cut you out, and I was, like, just trying to think of stuff to say, and right as I said penis, you pop back up. That's the
Well,
magic word.
I might just leave it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Um,
no, yeah, I'm sorry. Go right ahead, man.
no, no, so, I mean, he just he's pushing the right buttons, he's doing a great job, and honestly, people are saying, "Oh, Nick Sirianni should be coach of the year." I don't know, dude. I kinda feel like Dable should be coach of the year. I
Yeah,
feel like
I don't disagree. They look, Sirianni was handed, to me anyway, much better talent in front of him. Look, you have Hurts and AJ Brown, and you have a good core of a team that has won a lot of ball games previously. The Giants really have not known winning at all for a long time now. Really post Eli Manning, quite to be quite honest. Saquon's a hell of a player, shown that time and time again, but really not a whole lot of other things going on there. And that other receiver I was thinking of was Isaiah Hodgins.
oh, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
the had a heck of a game. I don't know. I know there's a lot of you know Philly sports beat writers that are just, oh, it's just the Giants. It's going to be a walkover, whatever. I don't feel that way.
Mm,
Gonna be a close game. It's gonna be a within one score, maybe a 10 pointer. I don't feel that it's gonna be a blowout one way or the other. Um, I really don't. I certainly don't believe the Giants would blow us out. I just don't see that. But
yeah.
I also don't believe at all that the Eagles would blow the Giants out. So
No, you know what, man? It's tough to beat a team twice, let alone 3 times.
yep, yep.
So, I I I I'm concerned, but I feel like at the end of the day, the Eagles will win. Um, they'll move on and play, I believe they'll play the 49ers. Um, but hell, wouldn't it be a thing if we ended up playing the Cowboys in the NFC Championship game?
Okay, so let's think of the path right now. How that could go? Could go Giants. It could go Cowboys, and then it could go Chiefs against Andy Reid. What do you think?
I mean, that would be one hell of a game.
or lightning in the bottle.
Dougie
It could go
P,
Jaguars. Dougie P.
dude. Look, no matter what, here's the thing. I feel like the disparity between the quality teams in the AFC versus the NFC, I feel like, the top teams in the NFC kind of could compete with the AFC, but if by some stroke the Giants get past us and end up in the Super Bowl, they're not going to beat whoever comes out of the AFC. Same thing with the Cowboys. I think the
Oh no,
Eagles and the Niners have a shot, but I don't think besides the Eagles and the Niners, I don't think the Giants or the Cowboys can beat anybody that's left in the AFC in the playoffs.
no,
Um,
no. Chiefs, Bills. I mean, obviously, are both just ridiculous. It's almost quite astonishing that neither of them actually won it last year. On and let's not forget that you have the Bengals and Jaguars that advanced as well. So Bengals defending AFC champions. Joe Burrow's no joke. That whole team, like that receiving core is just probably the best in the league. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. I mean, it's nuts. Um, Jaguars have Doug Peterson magic.
right.
Uh,
And they beat the piss out of the Cowboys
yes,
not
they
that
did.
long ago.
Yep.
So,
And they have some quality talent on that field too. I love the running back. ETN's awesome.
mhm,
I just, look, I think Trevor Lawrence is a good young quarterback. I don't know that he's same. To me, he's not same conversation as Mahomes, Allen, and Burrow, but maybe right underneath, you know. Um, but I think that's the funny thing. It's like I think you're right. I mean, AFC's ultimately that Super Bowl's prime to be against the 49ers or Eagles. anyone else is going to be a walkover. You
Yeah.
know, I
And
mean,
and I think that honestly, uh, God, what I really feel like is what we're gonna get is gonna be the Bills versus the Eagles in the Super Bowl that Chris Berman always wanted.
mhm.
And it's tough to call the game. Both teams are flawed. Um, they have explosive offenses. The only thing I can say is when Josh Allen is on, he's really hard to beat.
Oh yeah.
But Josh Allen has been, he's been a little shaky. Almost lost to the Dolphins and threw some interceptions and stuff. Like if he can keep the turnovers to a minimum, that'll be a really tough game. But if he doesn't keep the turnovers, and I guess that kind of limits the chances of them making it to the Super Bowl to begin with. I think it could be Kansas City again, and Kansas City is a team that doesn't have many weaknesses. You know, um, everybody thought that it was going to be hard for them to do anything, losing Tyreek Hill and everything, but next man up. And they've really shown that mentality, and they had their rough patches throughout the season. There were times when they lost games that they probably shouldn't have lost, but at the end of the day, they're here. You know, um, I think that would probably be the most that and the Bills would be the most fun
Mhm.
Super Bowls, I think, or Super Bowl opponents, because obviously with the Chiefs, you got the Andy Reid connection, you've got Travis Kelsey versus Jason Kelsey. You
Right.
know, there's a lot of stuff there. Not Steichen. Sirianni was actually on Romeo Crennel's staff in Kansas City when he was before Andy Reid got hired there. There's a lot of connections. And then obviously Dougie P, if Jacksonville were to go, that's a whole thing. And what do we do with the statue if he ends up being, you
Gets
know?
thrown in the Delaware,
Yeah,
knowing the Eagles fans.
yeah. Nah, that thing will get melted down. They'll you know. But and then Cincinnati scares me because, like you said, they've got the best wide receiver core. Our defensive backs have not been doing their thing, but our defensive line could beat up that offensive line. So strength. The matchups are interesting in with all the teams because every team has a flaw.
Right.
It's not like there's any team in either conference that's like a juggernaut. The closest thing I would say would be the Niners. I think that as much like I was getting pissed. I kept on reading, that everybody's saying the Niners are the best team in the NFC. Niners best motherfucker. They didn't finish with the best record in the NFC, but if you look honestly at who has the most complete roster, who has like as far as looking at holes, I'm starting to come around to the Niners being probably the better roster, but I just don't think I think the Eagles take the edge at quarterback, and that's where this game is going to be a make or break. Um, and think that Jalen Hurts would will the team to victory.
I uh I think you're right. I think he's going to throw these playoffs on his shoulders. I really do. I don't know that um I don't know that he's going to be the one that gets it. Here's my take on this. I don't know that he's going to be the one that like takes us all the way down there. But let's say he does. Hypothetically, Super Bowl is, or the NFC Championship is the Eagles and the Niners. I don't know that the game against the Giants that Hurts is completely the reason through. I think that's more of a team effort. I completely agree with that, though, as far as, hey, look, Hurts versus Purdy. Hurts kind of has this as a chip on his shoulder. He's the one that takes the team on his back in that game. I think, to me, I see the Giants game as being more of a team effort. I see a lot of Miles Sanders, Boston Scott type stuff going on. Um, you know, I don't know that that's all Hurts in this one. And the only reason why I say that's because I think the Giants are up to they've seen enough of Hurts now to know what he's about. you know,
Yeah,
um, I know the Niners have too, but not nearly as much. So I think that's a good way to look at it moving ahead. Like if they do get past the Giants and this becomes a game against the Niners, is that this would be the Hurts show in that game. I don't know.
yeah. No, I agree. I think the running game is going to win them the game against the Giants, and then I think against the Niners, it's going to have to be Hurts.
Yeah,
And I mean, let's give D'Amico Ryan's his flowers for being the defense coordinator for the Niners. Dude used to be a linebacker here. Um, was a hell of a player, very well respected, and you knew wherever he went after that, whatever he did, he was going to be successful. And I think he's still exceeded everyone's expectations as a defensive coordinator. Um, so good for him. It's going to be a tough game, no matter who we play. Obviously we have to beat the Giants, and if we don't beat the Giants, and all this is worthless anyway.
right.
But
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think that's the whole point too. It's like we're not trying to sit here and say, "Oh yeah, when they do, when they do, when they do." No, 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 no.
mm-mm.
Look, we're lifelong Philadelphia fans here. We don't expect anything.
No,
In
we
fact,
know how that shit works.
we expect a loss, and it's quite odd that we're the number one seed. I thought it was really strange not seeing any Eagles football this weekend. Quite, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah,
So I'm not used to this part, really. Um, the thing I will say though is that there's still some people there that were on the roster during the magical Super Bowl run. They know what this feels like, and you've got the new kids in there, if you will. This team's shown they know how to win. They did that for most of the season. It's gonna be fun. I don't know what's gonna happen, but one game at a time, right? I mean,
right.
let's get past the Giants, and
Yeah,
then then I'll start talking about. Well, hell, look, we're saying here right now, thinking the 49ers are going to beat whoever they're going to face here, and most likely the Cowboys. But uh, I didn't think the Cowboys were going to make the Buccaneers look so silly either. So, you know, that game sits right now as 24-6 in the fourth, by the way. So,
Jesus. Well, let's talk about that. That's a good segue into what I'd like to talk about. And you said, you had said exactly the opposite of what I was thinking. So you said, well, Tom Brady's done. I don't think there's any way in hell that with the competitor that he is, that he doesn't try and play next year to show that this is an aberration. I don't think he goes out like this. I think he's too stubborn.
okay, it's a fair point. Okay, so do you think he shows back up then? If Tampa Bay says, hey, one more year? Or does he go to the Colts or I don't anywhere else?
I don't think there's any chance in hell that he ends up in Indianapolis. Um, I don't think he wants to be in Middle America anywhere. Not enough fame, not enough fortune, not enough you know, celebrity debutantes for him to date. Um,
Plus, Aaron Rodgers probably end up there anyway.
oh, ooh, I don't know, man. That's another good conversation. Is once we know where he falls out, what the quarterback carousel. Um, but no, I think he ends up. I would have prior to Brock Purdy doing his thing. I thought he was going to the Niners,
Hmm.
but Brock Purdy seems to have. Wait, let me say it like because they did have Paul Heyman do a promo
Yes,
for
they
him.
did, which was pretty cool, actually.
Brock Purdy. So, yeah. So no, I don't. So he's not going to Niners anymore. So now what I'm hearing is Vegas, or maybe Mister Tua gets a year to recover from his concussions, and he goes to Miami.
Yeah, it's possible. I did see Derek Carr wanted out of, or not wanted out, but I think they were going to move on from him finally.
Yeah, they're done with him.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, they just have not been very successful. Well, they made the playoffs what last year with him,
Mhm.
and that was really about it, right? I mean, I don't know much else success with them.
They well, no, when he was a rookie and when he was younger, they were doing really well, and then I think, like, right before the playoffs or maybe the first game of the playoffs, he ended up destroying his knee.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
So he had early success, and then he destroyed his knee, and then he kinda it took him a little bit to get back to where he was, and then he finally started getting back to where he was, but it was they were mired in the whole John Gruden thing and all the issues that were going on with that, and then, um, he hasn't really to be fair, since he came back from his injury, he hasn't really had a normal season, a normal, you know, it's all been very shaky ground for him.
Right. Right.
So it, it'd be interesting to see what he could do with a solid team around him, with a solid coaching staff, with a solid organization, like a like the Colts or like the Packers. Even God, I feel like if he goes to the Packers, which he won't because they've got Jordan Love. But if he did go to a team like the Packers, or hell, if he ends up in Miami, dude, if he ends up in Miami, that's a that team is going places, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. I would say right now the chances are higher for him to end up in Vegas, only because of the Derek Carr thing, and I don't know who the
No,
next.
that's what I was talking about. Derek
Oh, you're
Carr.
talking about Derek Carr, yeah, yeah. And I was talking about Brady ended up in Vegas. Um, Derek Carr, I heard what the head coach there in Miami say that Tua would be the starter for next year, wherever that whatever that
Listen,
means.
you know what? The NFLPA, if they're serious about injuries and brain health and everything, no, they need to step in. And I think that maybe they need to bring in an independent person, an independent neurologist, to double and triple check to it and make sure that he's not like putting himself on the Junior Seau train. And I don't mean to say that flippantly
Right,
because it's terrible what happened with Junior Seau. But they really need to step in and protect him if he's not willing to protect himself and if that team isn't going to protect him. Because it would be horrible to hear 10 years from now, 15 years from now, that Tua killed himself or is confined to a wheelchair because of the effects of CTE and too many concussions in too short a time. I'm more worried about the player at this point as a person than as the quarterback of the Miami Dolphins.
right. No, no, no. I certainly don't disagree there. No, I think that's a fair. I think that's fair to look at. Derek Carr could possibly end up down there. Um, I don't know. It's funny. Think about the teams around the league that really need quarterback help, and compare it to the teams around the league that needed quarterback help last year. I think when that Russell Wilson trade was made, everyone thought the Seahawks would be looking this year. I don't know that they look. Geno Smith is certainly going to be looking around. He's not, I don't believe, signed on for beyond what this season was. They could be looking for somebody, but I also think they should really be hard looking at him.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think that, at this point that they should be looking outside. What do the Rams do?
The Rams, I think, run it back with Stafford.
And I think that too. It's kind of funny that boy they fell apart hard.
Well, and look at it this way too. Like, I think that you run it back with Stafford because how many years of first round picks did you give to the Lions in that trade?
Hmm.
Because you're not. I don't think maybe they take a flyer on a young quarterback in a later round and try to hope to recreate the Brock Purdy, the Jalen Hurts, the non first round quarterback. Um, as a star to eventually take over for Stafford, but I don't know that they're willing to invest that draft capital with how few draft picks they have. I don't know that they're going to be willing to invest that draft capital in another quarterback when they know that Stafford is the guy.
Right.
Um, I mean, maybe the other option is they stick with, they re-sign Baker Mayfield to stick around as their backup quarterback, because maybe Baker Mayfield just needed Sean McVay.
Yeah, yeah, I kind of thought that too, and I thought, well, maybe, just maybe, after the first game where Baker comes in, does a little bit of miracle work with the Rams, and hey, I haven't been on the team for more than 48 hours, and they win the game type stuff. Thought that was kind of maybe a kick in the pants for his career, but look, he's the guy, and I've said this about him his whole entire NFL career. He's the kind of person who's going to show flashes of brilliance, is not ever going to be anything more than, at this point, a backup or a starter on a very bad team. That's just who he is. He's just not I think he's a good quarterback. He's just not consistent enough to, be, competitive every day, every game. But here's the thing too: you look around the rest of the league. There's really not many openings for, quarterbacks, if you will. The Colts obviously have a need. We could have conversations about the Commanders and what they're doing with Wentz and Heineke, and
Well, that's what I was initially, before the last game of the season. I I had been hearing that Baker Mayfield was going to go to Washington, but after the last game, when Sam Howell stepped in and beat the Cowboys and did it in impressive fashion, the word is that they're going to give Howell the opportunity to win the starting quarterback position out of camp next year.
really,
Him
wow,
and Heineke are going to be competing for the
yeah,
starting
I
quarterback.
didn't think Wentz would have a shake anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know where he's going to go. I don't know what they're going to do with him.
I could
I,
see him ended up as a backup somewhere. I don't think that he starts unless it's spot again.
yeah,
I just
no,
don't.
I think he's done as a starting quarterback. Maybe he goes to maybe he goes to Jacksonville as their backup.
Well, I'll add Nick Foles.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know, because I don't. I really. Although no, that's not going to happen because he burned his bridges with Dougie P. So really, I don't know where he goes. Who would be willing to take a flyer on him as a backup quarterback
Yeah,
even?
think of the teams that even need quarterbacks, even starters. He's already burnt with the Colts, pretty much burnt with the Washington. Obviously, the Eagles aren't going to, entertain that one. At least I kind of would hope they wouldn't.
No.
Um, I don't know, but it is funny if you look at some of the backup quarterbacks around the league. It's like, good lord, I didn't realize they've been in the NFL for 14 years. I mean, some of these people that are still like Case Keenums of the world
All right.
that are still hanging in there. You know, it's funny, so who knows? I mean,
I
maybe
mean,
that's the role he
Houston.
finds.
Let's try and figure this out though. Let's try and figure out who actually could use a backup quarterback, or a quarterback rather. Um, so if we looking across the league, if I can get the NFL app to load here, it doesn't want to because it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, plus
Um,
we're ultra prepared as we usually are.
yeah, hey, that's how we do. We're the most prepared team, most prepared, whatever. I see. I can't even do words, man. Words are fucking hard. Um, shit. So this isn't doing what I needed to do. But in any event, I mean, let's take a look at this. So you figure the Chiefs are set. All the playoff teams, for the most part, are set, right? Unless you consider the Vikings.
Yeah, well, okay. So here's an interesting question. Let's talk about Kirk Cousins for a second. Kirk Cousins has always been an interesting case. Um, and I think I've always had respect for Kirk Cousins because to me, he's always the kind of guy that could throw for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and lose every
Yeah.
time out. Like, I just don't understand him. Like, phenomenal quarterback, but, comparatively to a lot of others, but I just don't get him. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what his contract status is. You know, the Vikings have got to be thinking maybe it's time to move on at some point, though.
Right.
I mean,
Because he's, if I remember correctly, he's got a fairly high contract, fairly high
oh yeah, yeah.
salary. But let's go. All right. So the Bills, I would say the Bills are set. The Dolphins, it really depends on the health of Tua going forward. The Patriots, I don't know. Mac Jones has shown flashes, but Mac Jones has been also alternatingly terrible and frustrating. The Jets, they say they're going to give Zach Wilson another chance, but are they?
Uh,
Um,
Cousins deal. He has another year in. Let's see. He's got one more year. Another he signed a one year contract for 30 or 23. You know what his cap hit is for 23?
what?
36 and a quarter mil.
Jesus.
Yeah, so he signed a 1 year, $35 million contract that included a $25 million signing bonus.
So that's for cap. That's got to be for cap reasons. Then
Yeah,
that means that
that's exactly
probably,
his base is 25, or excuse me, his base is 10 mil.
yeah. So he
So
only
yeah,
counts 10 against the cap. Then
right. But his cap hit is 36. That's
wait,
insane.
how is his cap hit still 36?
Okay, let me read this to you. So Kirk Cousins signed a 1 year, $35 million contract with the Minnesota Vikings, including a $25 million signing bonus, $35 million guaranteed. In 2023, Kirk Cousins will earn a base salary of $10 million and a roster bonus of $20 million while carrying a cap hit of 36 and one quarter million dollars with a dead cap value of 48 and three quarter million dollars.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
I wonder if they're okay. So if they cut him, they wouldn't.
they're not cutting him.
No, no, they can't. Because I was trying to think. I'm like, all right, well, so if they cut him, they would save that 20 million roster bonus, but then he's still 40 some million dead money against the cap. So they're not going to cut him. So
No. He's guess okay. So we can move on from the Vikings conversation until
right.
at least 24.
So all right. So the Bengals obviously ain't doing nothing. The Ravens are interesting because that all hinges on what Lamar decides to do.
I tell you what, Lamar and his health
Yeah.
too. I mean, look, I love Lamar. I think he's fantastic. He's one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the league. I don't know, man. That's interesting too.
Yeah. So the Steelers got Kenny Pickett, and you could make an argument either way for him. I have a feeling they'll probably give him one more year with Trubisky as his backup.
Yeah,
And
and then they'll
then,
look around in the draft
right.
again.
The Browns, I feel like the Browns, if for no other reason than the contract they signed with Deshaun Watson, they're kind of locked in.
They're stocked. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
The Jags are the
yeah,
Jags
they're
are
committed
set.
to Trevor. Yeah,
The Titans with Malik Willis, I don't know that they're going after anybody anytime soon.
yeah, but that's another interesting team to think about though, because obviously you're moving beyond the Ryan Tannehill era.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know that Malik is the answer, but I also don't think that they will be the team that goes after a proven veteran.
right,
So I certainly don't see, Brady or Rodgers landing there if
right.
that's the case.
So then you've got the two teams that more than likely will end up with new starting quarterbacks in the AFC South, and that's going to be the Colts and that's going to be the Texans. And the Colts with Jim Irsay, you've got to imagine they're going to go after Derek Carr. They're going anybody that's got a name, they're
Yep.
going after.
The Aaron Rodgers will be a Colt next year. Book it. Book it. I don't care what his contract is and what he's owed. They will find some way to figure that out because he is not going to be quarterback in Green Bay next year.
No, I agree he won't be in Green
There's
Bay.
no way.
I don't know if he's going to go to if he'll go to
The Colts or he's going to be done.
I don't know, man. It's interesting. But I could, you know what? Wouldn't put anything past him at this point. You know what would be funny? Aaron Rodgers, quarterback, New York Jets.
Oh yeah, that's right. They have a weird thing too, man, with Mike White, and obviously they've moved beyond Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson has found interests doing other things that aren't related to football.
Like his
Um,
teammates' moms.
that's right. More power to the guy. But no, I don't know that Mike White's the answer there for the long term. Um, you're right. That's another good point. The Jets obviously have not had a history of winning football here, so
No,
I don't know.
I could very much see Aaron Rodgers following in Brett Favre's footsteps and going to the Jets.
Straight to the Jets. Yep.
Now, what about Brady? What if Brady goes to the Jets?
Oh man, I don't know. Boy, that'd be weird.
It would be really fucking weird. But anything could happen, dude. I don't think he will because I don't think he wants to go spend most of his time in a cold climate again. He's from San Francisco. Like, excuse me. He's from the San Francisco area.
Mm-hmm.
He's used to temperate. I don't think he's going to want to go back to cold again after how many years in New England. But then you got the Texans too. Now, obviously, I don't think anybody with any kind of name, any kind of cash is going to the Texans.
No, and
Maybe Carson Wentz
it's not a bad guess.
or Baker, for that matter. Like somebody that it's going to be somebody that's desperate to either keep their career alive or to revive their career is going to go to the Texans to be their starting quarterback because they don't have any other options.
Yeah, and I just don't see them being able to spend the money on, whoever. Texans fan base, from what I've understood here, is just non-existent.
Yeah.
It's not like it was with the Oilers. It's just not there. So I don't know that really anyone cares about that team. I'm almost surprised that there has been conversations about that team moving again.
Yeah.
Because it was a kind of the original team moved to Nashville to become the Tennessee Titans, and then it was an expansion team that became the Houston Texans. Didn't work there the first time. I mean, they had some great players and some great years. Earl Campbell, Warren Moon. I mean, we can go on about those guys, Bruce Matthews, and so forth. The Texans themselves, though, I mean, they had the Deshaun years. You had some pretty talented players here and there, but I'm just honestly shocked that hasn't been talked about. Like, hey, you know what? It was a nice experiment.
Yeah.
Let's try somewhere else.
I could see them moving to San Antonio.
Yeah, I could see that.
In the next few years, I could see them. But then, I mean, it's not really. I guess it's not really an issue. But the only conceivable issue I could see with that is would San Antonio embrace them, or San Antonio's only about an hour or so away from Dallas. Or no, it's not. No, it's not. I'm wrong on that.
No, it's
a
a
few
little
hours
further.
away.
Yeah, a little further.
But any team in Texas really is competing with the Dallas Cowboys. And we know their fans are like cockroaches. And they're everywhere. You see one, there's more around. And they're fucking terrible and you don't want them and anyway. But I don't know that there's enough of a fan base. Maybe because they would be the hometown team, people from San Antonio would adopt them.
You could.
But
Or you know what? You heard it here first. They're going to be moving to Salt Lake City and be called the Salt Lake City Utahns.
they're going to be the SLC punks.
That's right. Oh, dude, you know what? I mean, come on. How awesome would that be?
That would be fucking cool.
You know what? I might actually root for them at that point.
I would. I mean, obviously, I'd still be Eagles, but
obviously,
that would make me kind of pull for an AFC team.
You hear this, NFL? You better be listening.
Do it. But they could also, I mean, that's a team. People are talking about moving different teams to Europe and shit like that. That could be a team that could very well be moved to Europe because
Yeah.
really, I mean, honestly, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they have a rabid fan base and we're completely off base on this, but I don't see it. I don't think that I've ever seen anyone ever in Houston Texans stuff.
Oh no, the only I remember the first stuff I ever remember seeing was the old David Carr jerseys. That was it. You know,
Yeah.
I don't ever remember seeing anything other than that.
Yeah, I think that might be who was that running back they had?
Mm,
There was that one running back they had that I feel like maybe some people had his jersey too, and I can't remember his damn name. Um, really good, like he was dominant for a while, but still wasn't enough to do anything for their team.
oh yeah, what was his name? Let's see here. Oh, the Arian Foster. He
Yeah,
was
Arian
one.
Foster. There you go.
Yep, yep. But no, JJ Watt's probably the most famous that's come out of there.
Jadeveon Clowney was there.
Andre Johnson. Um,
Brian Cushing was there.
yeah,
I mean, that's actually where we
Matt
got D'Amico
Schaub, and
Ryan.
I don't mean to be ill on that one. Matt Schaub cracks me up, but that guy actually holds some season records
Yeah,
in the NFL. Like he was just that good. Yeah, Arian Foster. We mentioned DeAndre Hopkins, JJ Watt, but apparently, yeah, JJ Watt, Andre Johnson. So there's your big ones.
D'Amico Ryans was a linebacker there. You had Brian Cushing, linebacker. Um, did Connor Barwin play there too?
That sounds right. Let's see.
I don't remember where
Uh,
we got Connor Barwin from.
I'm gonna do a little pro football reference here on him because I don't really know. Yeah, he did. He came from Houston.
Yeah. So because I knew that there was some players. We had grabbed a couple players from Houston one year, and we had grabbed a tight end, we grabbed Connor Barwin, and we grabbed D'Amico Ryans all in the same offseason. And then Connor Barwin and D'Amico Ryans really helped the defense. And the tight end disappeared into obscurity. And I think he actually got cut like the second week of the season or something like that.
Yeah, the Eagles signed him in 2013 off season.
Yeah.
So no, that's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see how this football playoffs shape up, ship out, whatever. But
All
no,
right.
this
We
is
made it to we obviously, in the AFC West, the Chiefs, Chargers aren't going to move on. The Broncos, I can't see them giving up on Russ after just 1 year. I think they're going to give him a shot with the new staff. Um, so he'll be the quarterback there. The Raiders obviously are looking for a quarterback, are going to be in the market. As we discussed, Brady could be there. Aaron Rodgers could be there.
yeah, it's a good point.
You know, in the NFC East, I feel like everybody's set. The Commanders are obviously going to be, like we said, Sam Howell is going to get the nod. Him and Taylor Heineke are going to be battling it out. They may bring somebody else in. Who knows? In the NFC North, surprisingly, the only team, the Vikings are probably going to stand pat. The Lions will stand pat because Goff has actually showed that he can be a good quarterback. Justin Fields in Chicago is going to stay. They've already, they're committed to him.
Yeah, in fact, that's one thing Justin Fields is funny. He had the second most rushing yards as a quarterback in NFL history this season
Yeah,
for the worst team in the league. That's pretty funny.
it is. But I feel like that team is going to be like a fast riser. I feel like they're going to start improving, and it's going to be a quick improvement.
Yeah, yeah.
The NFC North is going to be a beast going forward. The Packers, once they figure out who their quarterback is, which I think it'll be Jordan Love. I think that's kind of settled, unless something major happens. I have a feeling it's going to be Jordan Love. Now, the NFC South is where it gets really interesting. because the Bucks are going to be losing Brady. The Panthers don't have a quarterback. The Saints have Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. And then the Falcons are really the only ones who have their quarterback of the future in place. So it's going to be really with Desmond Ritter. So that whole division is going to be, and they were a dumpster fire of a division anyway. That the Bucks won that division with an 8-9 record.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody else was 7-10. So mediocrity, thy name is NFC South. And then we get to the NFC West. The Niners seem like
They're
they're a
set.
lock with Brock.
They're either set with
They're there.
Purdy or they still have Trey Lance under, coming back too as well. So
Yeah, which I could see Trey Lance getting traded.
yeah, they're gonna have. They're basically their cup is overflowing.
Yeah,
you
Jimmy
know.
G,
Yep.
Brock Purdy, Trey Lance.
Yep.
The Seahawks, like you said, probably going to. I would
I would imagine they resign Geno Smith. I mean, that's a hell of a, to me, for a guy that was basically a toss in on a trade
right.
for a franchise Super Bowl winning MVP caliber quarterback in Russell Wilson. Boy,
No,
Geno.
he wasn't in that trade. They threw in Drew Lock.
Drew Lock. I'm sorry. You're right, Drew Lock. Yeah, he was an afterthought guy. He wasn't supposed to be anything, and boy, he turned out just to be phenomenal. Yeah, I even forgot it. Yeah, for whatever reason, I thought, yeah, he wasn't that, but you're right, he wasn't. He was just kind of a whatever.
And then we've got the Rams, who we already discussed, probably sticking with Stafford, but you got to imagine they'll be looking probably at a free agent that could step in, if not Baker, to be their backup.
Stafford makes sense, especially if he's healthy.
Yeah,
it's proven, but.
And then the Cardinals with Kyler Murray, but at what point do you start thinking, you know what, maybe Kyler's not the guy? I know they just signed him to that massive extension, but
Yeah, that's a fair point too. I think I've heard rumblings of that too. It's like, did we make a mistake?
Yeah.
Well,
there was rumors last year in the offseason leading up to the draft that the Eagles might make a deal for Kyler Murray.
Boy, I'm so glad we did not do that.
Yeah, like I was intrigued for like half a second, and I thought about it. I'm like, nope, we're better off with Jalen.
Yep. And you remember this early on in our pod. I think it was in our 21 season preview. I was pretty adamant about wanting to see what we could get out of a full season of him. Well, I'm so glad I said that. I really am serious because I don't know, at this point, hey, if he wasn't around, obviously where the Eagles would be, but two, who would be under center?
Right.
I don't know. It certainly would not be anyone nearly as electric. We have not had this much fun since the days of QB Eagles. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love Donovan and his error, but this is more fun.
Absolutely. And you think about it too, say they ended up going to Minshew, and say that, early on, Sirianni pulls the plug and says, you know what, no, Jalen's not the guy. We're gonna go with Gardner. We know that he's done it before. I don't know that they make the playoffs last year, and I don't know that they're anywhere near as good as they are this year.
No, I completely agree. And that's not a slight against Minshew. He's just a different quarterback. He's either going to be Minshew would be a starter in Houston. Minshew would be a starter in several different places. He's different caliber. He's a very capable backup, and I like him slotted in where he's at now. Of course, it's going to change. We know that, but no, you're right. 8-9 wins, maybe. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, and then that's another story that'll be interesting for the Eagles. Is he's not going to be back. They're not gonna. They're Jalen's gonna need a deal that is commensurate with his what he can do and where he is as far as his standings in the league amongst the other quarterbacks in the league. They're not going to be able to keep investing as much money in the backup quarterback position as Gardner Minshew is going to command.
Right.
So they're going to have to find a cheaper alternative. And I don't know where they go. I mean, do you draft somebody, late rounds and hope that they fit the offense? Or
They've got this. I mean, I don't know that you do this, but I mean, it's like you've got some early draft picks, right? This year, earlier than what your own draft picks are, because they have the Saints pick, right?
yeah,
I
they have
mean, I
number
don't know
10.
that you do that with a backup quarterback, but it's certainly something to think about, especially if you don't have one.
Oh, I don't think you go high. No, I'm talking I'm talking dredging the
Yeah, going back to like
7th
sixth, seventh
round.
type stuff, right?
Huh?
Like going back down to like sixth, seventh round type stuff.
Yeah, I'm saying like the bottom of the draft, you're looking at quarterbacks. They've had really good luck with undrafted free agents. Maybe I mean, I know we brought in Carson Strong, which I thought was a great move. I really thought Carson Strong um, would be the backup quarterback by the end of the season. Obviously, that didn't work out, but who knows? He knows the system. Maybe you bring him back in for camp. You sign him to a futures contract. You bring him back in for camp and see if he can compete.
Here's the funny thing, and I don't mean to sound ill on this. I just think it's something to think about. What if you have one of these starters that knows that their career is twilighting? It's like, you know what? I'm willing to back up somebody. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, do you make that happen for no money? I mean,
The problem is the union would kill them if they did that.
you know what I mean? But not saying no money, but like, people that know that they're at the end,
Yeah.
that they don't really have a contract. There's someone out there,
Yeah, I mean, there's somebody you could bring in for the veteran minimum. There's somebody you could bring in for like $1 million a year or something like that. Surely, I now who that is, I don't know.
there's gonna be someone sitting out there that I'm not
Yeah,
thinking about.
there's somebody that we're missing that they'll be able to bring in, or like I said, or they'll just draft somebody. But it's going to be interesting to see who they bring in because you also want to make sure that they're intelligent about the game, intelligent about the way they go about business,
They understand the system,
and that they fit the room.
right? Oh,
Um,
100%.
because that's one of the biggest things. Honestly, you can be the biggest X's and O guy in the world. If you can't build that team chemistry as well, you're only going to go so far.
And that was the one thing. And I'll switch gears before we sign off here. My favorite thing about the Trey Turner signing was the fact that chemistry is built in with Bryce.
Right.
Um, he's a Philly fit. He doesn't even need to take the field, and I know that that's going to work. So anyone that the Eagles do here off-season wise, yeah, you're right. I mean, and it's not just because they need to fit the team; they need to fit Philadelphia.
Right.
So I don't know. This has been fun, man. Another good Steve Jeltz.
Yeah. Steve Jeltz Appreciation Society episode 2 is a success.